Come to review class 5 of 6 review classes. It's nice to see your heads. Before we start, we do this mandala offering. It's funny. Wait till you see the rest. The point here, we're learning about karma. So the first thing I'm going to ask you is remove your spiritual hat for a second. Yeah, whatever mode we go into this, oh, I'm in the spiritual, la-di-da. Right? Don't go there today. You're looking scientifically at what produces every experience. So for that aim, when you say these words, imagine that your intention will flower into a reality. So better have a good intention. We'll talk about why. So the point here is you're creating the most perfect universe in your mind, and you're offering that out to whatever the hell you're imagining your universe is filled with, and whoever's listening. So make it perfect. Like, don't be ashamed, don't be embarrassed to make it beautiful and give it away. Yeah, like really have that in your heart. And then the next one is like, because I'm doing this, I know things don't have a nature. I know that even though it appears a different way. Because of that, this will work. Because of that, this will work. That's what you should be thinking. Yeah. So let's go there. Who wants to go?
Sashi
Puki Jishin Metotram Rira Linshin Yundegam Padi Sangye Shindu Miteguargi Drokun Namda Shinla Juparsho Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamniyatayami
Sangye
Judan Soki Choklam La Janshu Bardu Dakni Gyapsuchi Dahi Jenyen Gipe Sonam Ki Rola Benchir Sangye Driparsho
Sangye
Chudam Soki Chokam La Janchu Bardu Dakni Gyapsuchi Dahi Jinyen Gipe Zonam Ki Drola Benchir Sangye Druparsho
Sangye
Chudam Soki Choknam La Janchu Bardu Dakni Gyapsuchi Dahi Jinyen Gipe Zonam Ki Drola Benchir Sangye Druparsho. So if what we're saying is true, I go to refuge to the Buddha jewel, Dharma jewel, Sangha jewel, until I achieve enlightenment. And we learned that a couple of classes ago. Until I achieve enlightenment, until I wake up from whatever disturbs my reality. Yeah, no more suffering means whatever minute disturbances we have from thoughts, feelings, anything, they're gone. And that basically the Buddha said, they're temporary afflictions. They're produced by something and they can be flicked off. Our natural nature is bliss. Yeah. So if what we're saying is true, something at the back of your mind, if you've thought it through, should tell you that the people in this room, you included, could be sitting there as a perfect, filled with light, magnificent, never upset, completely blissful creature. Right now, it's there, but something's blocking. Yeah, something's blocking. So something at the back of your mind, if you've studied these things enough, and when I know we're doing just reviews, but should tell you that the potential for every creature in this room, seen and unseen, and on the planet and in the city, could be just bliss. Doesn't have to be crappy. And so I hope you can lean into that as a possibility as we listen to one of the most fundamental ideas that the Buddha proclaimed. He didn't invent it, he proclaimed it. Yeah, it's not like I'm gonna write it down, I'm gonna formulate. He had an insight about a truth. Yeah. So it's not like he just had a great idea and hey, try this. He went there. He went to that place I'm describing and said it is available to everyone without exception. That the exception is the crappy existence, it's samsara. So let's talk about that, but before we go there, we have to do a quick overview. Is that really dark? That's really dark. You can't see anything.
I see Legos.
That's okay, little Lego pieces. It's just saying we did ACI 1, 2, 3, and 4, which in the basis was, the first course was just a quick overview of the 3 principal paths of renunciation, getting sick and tired of things not working, bodhicitta, going, I wish to get out of this place. Really, it's possible, but not just for me, for everyone else. And wisdom, which says, to do that, I've got to figure out how the world truly operates. Because whatever I'm working on doesn't work. That's the 3 principal states of mind which could lead us to enlightenment. Going deep into those is the rest of the ACI courses. And the first thing we go into is this idea of wisdom, at level 1 wisdom, called refuge. What can protect you really? And the summary of that was what really protects you is the understanding as a truth that every single thing has the potential to be everything. That things aren't stuck being one thing, that things come into being and go out of being, and something makes them that way. And it's not just some things, it's everything, without exception. Level 1. When you get to level 2 and level 3 of understanding of this idea that everything has an infinite potential to be anything, the proof of that is that if an animal and a human looked at this object, we would be forced to perceive it differently. Something is forcing that perception. We'll talk about that today. So that's the basis, level 1. When you get to level 2, level 3, you'll understand that even that idea doesn't have a nature. That's another story. Then we go to, if that's true, it doesn't seem true by my everyday experience. It seems true that if I like ice cream, and I have lots of ice cream, that will make me happy. Until you get fat, diabetes, and sick. Yeah? And then somehow ice cream can't make you happy. So it stops working. Yeah? So meditation lets you slow down the process by which we engage with our world, and says, let me slow it down and see how perceptions come about. What produces my reality, my understanding of these ideas. Yeah? So that's what we covered at meditation. Meditation is the power to focus, the power to... It's funny because I wasted so much time learning to meditate because I didn't know how to do it. And I thought I had to be like, meditate. And it was more like, meditate. It's more like remove the... Yeah? It's like someone's trying to come into a room and the room is vast and full of beauty, and you're inside the room, your wisdom's inside the room trying to call you in. But if you slam open the room and grab the person and try and drag them in, their instinct is to like, doesn't matter what's in the room. Yeah? But if you sneak the door open a little bit and say, oh, I'm not sure if you can look in here, the person's like, can't wait to get inside. You've got to be tricky like that with your mind, because your mind is used to being outside that room. And outside that room, it's a closet. Yeah? So, then we talked about, well, let's spend time talking about mind and the idea of the continuum of a human life. And that was last week. Thursday last week. And that's a new idea for the West. It's a nicety. So my proposal to you is like investigate that idea that you are a continuum, like everything else is a continuum. Your consciousness is a continuum. Like everything else is a continuum. for your entire life, your mind produces your mind, produces your mind, produces your mind, produces your mind, this flavor produces this flavor, it flops, it flops, it flops. And what, at some point, it's just never, we're not going to do that anymore. You know, your body, sperm and egg, many cells, many more cells, many arms and legs, really sexy torso, lovely hair, no hair, shitty eyes, saggy bum. But then it changes, and the material, the nails we cut, everything continues. Why shouldn't you mind? Like it's this idea, and it takes time because we're going against the current. So tonight we're talking about karma with sound effects. So the idea of karma, you know, what goes around comes around. You know, if you think you've done something, it'll come back to get you. Yeah? It's just a little time delay. It wasn't so obvious. You're going to get sad if you go and chuck things at other things. We'll talk, like every other class, why this idea of karma is vital to understanding experience of life. Like, we're living creatures. I was coming here thinking about how do I share all the years of thinking about these concepts. It's impossible to push into tonight all the visual understanding that one gets after years of digging and all the doubt and all the breaking apart and it's difficult. But the image that came to me is our life force, our karma, our experience of being gets shoved into this sausage we call life now, and whatever flavor that sausage is, some of us are chorizos, some of us are hot dogs, some of us are veggie dogs, right? We think we are just that, only that. You know, we didn't realize that it came from other stuff. And we live out this life in that thing as it changes in our skin, as our skin evolves and changes, and our experiences, our mental experiences force us to see this world in a specific way. We think it's fixed, we think it's that way. We are creating it with all the impulse and energy and inertia that pushed us into the sausage. Yeah? That's the best I can do.
You're a wiener.
You're a sausage. So, the first thing I want to do, let's see if this works, is the biggest question is like, who are we on this planet? Who am I? Why is this world this way? What makes the stars? What makes my family? What makes my experience? So I figure instead of me trying to tell you, I better bring some other people into the picture now, so then you can hear it from another voice, because I think after you hear things from one particular person, our karma start placing an identity on each other, and I see you fixed that way. And it's possible that we now have a little thing going between sitting here being the teacher and you sit there being the student, and we go to sleep again. Yeah. So I want to introduce some other people who express these things maybe better than me or different, and they can share it with you. This is Venerable Rabina. Do you know this lady? Mm-hmm. She's the most magnificent Australian, none go the Australians. Yeah. She's full of power, and she's talking a little overview about karma and what karma is. Yeah. Here we go. Can you see that? Yeah.
Well, where did you come from? Well, Christians and the rest say you came from God. Western materialists say you came from mummy and daddy. Well, Buddha says you came from previous moments of your own consciousness, right? So the implication here is kind of central to all the practice in Buddhism, and this is the implication here is the concept of karma, cause and effect. Karma. Okay. This, if you like to find a creative principle in Buddhism, this is where it is. This is what you'll find. If you want to find who am I, why am I, who made me, where do I come from, why is the world the way it is, why is there suffering, why are there suns and moons, the answer in Buddhism is karma. If you ask the question, who made me, well, Buddha says very directly, you did. So this consciousness of ours, it's not physical, doesn't come from God or Buddha, doesn't come from Mother, Father. Your body did, no problem. Egg and sperm, no problem. Turns into this nice body of yours. How kind of Mother and Father to provide the body, you know. But who you are, your personality, your characteristics, your propensities, your love, your hate, your anger, your jealousy, your pride, your craziness, your intelligence, whatever, doesn't come from Mother, Father. Just because we're like them doesn't mean that they gave it to us, you know. So consciousness is beginningless, not created. It doesn't just come from nowhere. It's not some random event that just pops up out of the sky, you know. Isn't physical, not created. These are the central points about mind. And in a way, for a Buddhist or for a person even wanting to understand Buddhism, to at least hear these words is kind of crucial to an understanding of how you practice and how you develop. And all the Buddha's teachings are based on this concept, actually. Everything we say, do, or think, in Buddhist term, is a karma, if you like. Like everything you do say or think is like a seed that you're planting in your consciousness that will bring a fruit similar to that seed. But all karma is Buddha's explanation of why. That's all. It's simply his technical explanation of why you get harm, you get love, whatever the story is. I mean, it's a heavy-duty idea, but it's very empowering because it says, I can change it.
So that was said very nicely. Thank you. Okay. I don't have to reiterate. Any questions on that? I want to link last week's class. We talked about the idea of sema, a valid perception. And we talked about the idea of Nirlangikyu. Remember that? The principal cause. So you get a seed into the ground and you have a tree because it's got the right conditions. But the principal cause was the seed. You can't say the principal cause was the dirt or the water, because you can fill a corner with dirt and water and put some sun on it, and unless there's seeds, nothing's coming up. So the seed is the principal cause. So yeah, study 20 years in the monastery, and then you get to think about mind, same as valid perceptions. And we talked a little bit about that last week. By no means did we get a full understanding. The idea we ended up with, hopefully, was that your mind is, the Nirlangikyu for your mind is a previous moment of your mind. For physical stuff is other physical stuff. And then I ask you, where do you perceive your world? Where is it that you experience feeling and smell and taste and touch? What is it that lets you put that all together and call it whatever the experience you are having about those things? That's what we'll investigate tonight. But about the sausage, about what brought you with the propensities into this life, we talked also last week that in the wheel of life you see this idea about former life, current life, and future life. So that the mind was produced by all the actions, all the karmas of the previous life into this life. And everything we do, say or think, this life produces the propensities for us to be forced to have certain experiences. When you use the idea of the two realms that you can verify, the human realm and the animal realm on this planet, and you look at objects together. We use visual because visual is an easy thing to verify. But when I say objects, I'm talking about objects of the mind, things that your mind objectifies. Sound is an object. An idea is an object. A smell is an object in this language. So when you grab a smell that you might love, or a smell that you might hate and a dog likes, there's nothing in there. I know, I had that image too when I was saying it. I tried to change it, I couldn't change it. Now everybody's got a dog butt in there. Sausages and dog butts, great. Good start to the karma. But what is it about the way we perceive things? Did you learn it? Did you really have a choice? Have you ever been in a situation where your first impulse and instinct is repulsion towards something, and then you realize you're sort of trapped, and so you relax around it and you see it changing, and all of a sudden it's okay? Tomatoes are that for me. Okay. So the main thing, the Nirlangikyu, that produces this idea of a lifespan in this philosophy, in these ideas, is this desire, this link number 8 that turns into link number 9 here. This desire for self, for me, for existence, because we think so desperately that if we stop, we stop. We don't even recognize that you can't stop. That's liberating. You can't stop. It doesn't matter what you do to yourself, you can't stop. The terrible thing is that you're going to continue the way you're habituated. So the study of karma is vital to understanding what continues, what your sausage looks like next time. So let's talk about the lineage. So it's not just stuff made up. Okay, this was central to the Buddha's teaching at the time. And I want to reiterate, he wasn't sitting there going, oh, what can I tell these guys next so I can put it out on Facebook? He was pondering the nature of existence like many people at the time. And he had some insight into, like Newton might have about the insight of gravity. Like we might have an insight of a truth for the human realm. This truth, his capacity to meditate to such a degree to enter a substrate of mind. So we have conscious, we have subconscious, there's something deeper there. The nature of mind, the essence of mind is deeper than the bubbles we experience as mind. So to go there and then experience the ultimate nature of things. And then when he came out, he tried to box that experience and those ideas into things that we could use to have a similar experience. And as soon as you conceptualize it and you put a name, us idiots in the fish tank that he's knocking and going, hey, there's a world outside the fish tank and it looks like this. We can only hear it through the way we see the world. So as soon as you put words into it, we're already grabbing it and calling it something. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't lead you to the next realization, to the bigger fish tank, until you get out, smash the fish tank. So the Lord Buddha taught karma. The two main areas where we're getting the ideas that we're discussing, if you're doing the ACI course 5 online, is Master Vasubandhu on the Abhidharma Kosha, Treasure House of High Knowledge. So I just want to give you a quick breakdown of the word Abhidharma. Abhi means approaching, going up to. And Dharma, there's so many words for Dharma. We know Dharma as the Buddhist text or Buddhist knowledge. But really, it just means anything that holds a dar. In Sanskrit, it holds an essence. It has an essence. So it's a thing. It's an existing thing. And the implication here is that the highest of all existing things, the biggest of all things, the thing that encompasses all things, the ultimate knowledge, the ultimate is the highest kind of dharma, yeah? And so that would be the understanding that leads you to nirvana, the understanding that leads you to be free from the fish tank. And so Abhidharma, the study of Abhidharma, which is one of the 5 great books that people study in the monasteries, is the things that get you to that wisdom that frees you from suffering. So 2 kinds of wisdom on I-state knowledge for those of you who have done the course before, and that is Sherab, which is a specific kind of wisdom for path number 3, 4, and 5, which is seeing emptiness directly, having a direct visceral experience of the ultimate nature of things. We call that seeing emptiness directly. I know we call it that, but the experience is not what you call it, okay? The experience doesn't have a name. The experience can't be named. When you come out of that experience, you give it a name. So you call it that. The metaphor is a diamond, wisdom, blah, 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 blah. Yeah? But if you've had an insight, a complete and utter insight onto truly what is it that functions as the basis of our matrix, you've seen that. You've seen the green code, and you come back and you're still operating in the non-green code of the matrix, but you know that behind it there's code. Yeah, that wisdom, that knowing while you're maneuvering through your world is path number 3, 4, and 5 in the 5 paths that lead you from Schmuckville to enlightenment. Yeah, so path 3 is that direct experience. Path 4 is the path of habituation, which says, I just saw the code behind my matrix, and now I've opened back my eyes and I'm in it again, and it feels like it's real, but I know there's something behind it. So you're habituating your actions in that matrix with your true knowledge of what you experienced. Part of the flavor of that knowledge is that you're not crazy, it's not made up, you have certainty about it because it's the truth. You can't ever return. Yeah? And then path 5 is called path of normal learning, which means that you've perfected that habituation and you now see the code and the nominal. And then Jedrang Jedrang, which is accessories to knowledge, which is all the stuff that helps us get there, and all the learning, all the meditating, all the other books, etc. These are the two kinds of knowledge. So this is the things that get us to enlightenment. So the books that we're studying the idea of karma are filled with this knowledge that gets you free from suffering. And we're getting the commentary from the first Dalai Lama, Gendron Drup. Who was his teacher? Does anybody remember? Very good. And he wrote The Illumination of the Path to Freedom. Okay, so let's get some basics. Abhidharma Kosha, the 4th chapter of that book, starts with the lines: deeds, which is karma, causes the multitude of worlds. Did I say worlds? Good. Deeds cause the multitude of worlds. Lele jikten natsokir. What would the multitude of worlds be?
A variety of experience.
The variety of experience, good.
The many streams of consciousness.
Yeah, cool.
Everything.
Everything.
Everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. Good. Thank you. It's literal. It produces, and that's a radical idea. You know, we think it comes from something else, the Big Bang. I mean, really, what do you think? Yeah, what do you think, really? This book says, 2,500 years ago, the Buddha said, deeds cause the multitude of worlds. So we're going to investigate that. So I'm going to propose that you think about worlds in 2 ways. Everything. Yeah, Jupiter out there, and your personal world on Facebook. I wish there was another thing.
Instagram.
Thank you. Yeah. Your experience of this planet, your momentary glimpse through this lens, that world, and the 7 billion other humans and the trillions of other crawling creatures. They're all valid. They're all samas. And he's saying karma causes that. So I thought karma was punishment, you know, when I first learned these things. What do you mean karma causes that? Some outside karma, some karma out there comes over here and creates Pluto. So we'll investigate that. We'll do it in 4 parts. We'll talk what is karma, how karma works, and I'll give you different perspectives from different schools that the Buddha taught, so people at different capacities can grasp these ideas that point to something and not something. Then we'll talk about the objects of karma. So if karma is an action of mind, body, and speech, we're doing those actions usually towards things, yeah? So I talked before a little bit about objects. Don't think of an object as a solid thing, okay? Your memory is an object of your mind at the moment, you know? The ideas that are popping up in your head as these words come out there, that's an object that you're grasping onto. So that's what we're talking about here. We'll talk about the objects of karma, and then if I'm going to propose that if we've actually found the true nature of things, if the Buddha really explained the true nature of how things function, then working by that nature should produce a result that is in accord with reality. Therefore, you must get a result equal to the action you've put in there. Not sometimes, all the time. So I'm going to talk a little bit about, well, what's the advices from the sutras and the commentaries about living in accord with these ideas. Here we go. So let's talk about that defined. So karma is defined as the movement A of the mind, and B, what it motivates. So just so you think about karma as a logical, scientific explanation, that's why I said remove your fuzzy, wuzzy, enlightenment hat that I'm a religious person and I just got to bliss out. That's not what we're doing here. We're trying to identify the way that our minds are creating our worlds, okay? And so we look at the definition of karma. Karma is defined as the movement of the mind Now you're here and now you're there. Your mind moved. It moves 65 times a second, so they say. A finger snap, it's less than a second. Yeah, and it moves so fast that it creates this perception of a flowing life and a flowing consciousness, etc., like in a stream. So that movement of the mind motivates us to do something or say something. Do something with this sausage or to say something. Motivated by that first movement of the mind. So then the question is, well, what the hell did who motivated the mind? So there's 3 types, yeah? There's mental, verbal, and physical. And for those of you who are doing the exam, etc., obviously motivating karma is the karma that the mind is pushing forward from moment to moment. Motivated karma is the action of your body and your mind that followed the impulse of mind. And then for those of you who are interested, there's communicating and non-communicating karma. And the reason I thought I'd want to share this is because it's very interesting. If you go digging deep at all the sutras and all the commentaries, you get a lot of people that have gone, like millennia, have gone with these ideas, drank them and tried to experience them, and then had realizations and shared them and explained them on this commentary. So it's worthwhile digging into some of these. And one of those here is explaining what is non-communicating karma. So some of the qualities of a non-communicating karma. So for example, you guys don't have a clue what I did before I got here. But I did something before I got here to class.
Do we want to know?
You do not want to know. Yeah. And that's something that I did towards an object, towards someone else or something else, is to you now a non-communicating karma, except the ironies that I'm telling you about it. But don't be funny. Okay? So that karma, that action, just like you did something before you got here today, has these qualities. It's still there even if you're distracted. It's sitting there. It's not vanished. It's still sitting there. And even if you're distracted, thinking about something else, it is there, multiplying, growing. They say it's still there even if you go into the deeper states of meditation, what they call no mind meditation, because it's almost like you've got no mind or no movement at all of your mind. Of course, you never not have mind, but it's called no mind meditation. It just means you've reached the most subtle levels of consciousness in your meditation. Even if you're there, the karma's still there. Okay, it's ready, it's growing. You can't get rid of the bastard. Yeah. It has a strong ethical component. So, like things that grow, even if you've had a slight flavor of like and dislike at a base, that thing is growing and it's getting a strong ethical component for you. Yeah? So I might get somebody's ice cream and lick it as a joke, and my intention is like, haha, that was funny. And I might take somebody's ice cream as a mean thing to do. Only I know how I did that. The action's the same. Yeah, but that thing in my mind growing, those 2 flavors will grow. It continues in a stream, so it turns and grows and grows. I don't know if you get a visual for that. It continues in a stream, all of it. It is the collection of who you are. You are it. It's not separate to you. And it flops over from millisecond to millisecond. And they say it's composed of the 4 elements. I've got some doubts about that. In my mind, I've got to work through that. But what it means is that at the base level is made up of the 4 basic elements. Indian philosophy, another story. So let's talk about mental deeds, mental seeds. I've got to get to you the idea of bakchaks, the idea of kunchi, which is a mind-only school idea, and the idea of right conditions. So the basis of how karma is functioning is that first of all, you have some, like Venerable Ravina said, you have some seeds that enter your consciousness. You're seeding your garden of your mind all the time. So these seeds are forever occurring in your mind. Right now, they're sitting there, mostly in your mind because you're all sitting, yeah? But every action, without exception, of body, speech, and mind is seeding your consciousness to produce your future. So that they're called bakchaks. The way they are planted, which is the most beautiful thing, is just that part of your mind that is aware that you're doing something. That's it. Your raw awareness that you just caught your thought, or we're feeling that feeling, etc. That is enough to create a bakchak, to create a seed of substantial proportion that it will give a result. Then it sits somewhere. The mind only schools say there's a separate consciousness called Kunchi. We'll use that, and I think holy teacher Geshe Michael taught this so we could grab onto something, yeah? That the seed has to go somewhere. It's just in your mind. The Majjhimika Prasangika don't believe there's a separate consciousness. They say that you don't need a separate consciousness to have consciousness. Like, it's just there, yeah, as part of your mind. But the mind only school will really elaborate on the idea of where does this karma go, and how does it sit, and how does it grow. And so they've got this idea of the kunchi. Think about it as a bag of karma. It stays there and replicates over time, Everything that's born will be destroyed, okay? Everything that is will change, yeah? It doesn't go away, it just changes. Okay, so it grows there until what happens to the seed when the tree comes up? Where is the seed? It doesn't exist anymore, it's finished. That seed will not ever produce another tree. Yeah, so the seeds sit there. Now they're multiplying. There might be 5 seeds, or 10 seeds, or 100 seeds, but maybe 80 of them went off. If they meet the right conditions. And then you still got some left over. Does that make sense? But that seed itself, once it produced the result, because the result is after the seed finished, kaput.
I always had a question and confusion about like the condition and the seed, because isn't the condition a seed too, or
Yeah,
like,
good.
I don't get how there's 2 different things. It's coming? Okay.
Remind me to talk about it when we talk about how it ripens, okay? Because things grow. It's meeting the right conditions. So the kunchi, I'm going to propose, is the pile of dirt you put on top of the seed, just to grab this idea. And then it meets all the right conditions, it's sunlight and water, etc. And it'll begin to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow and grow until it sprouts. But of course it bears fruit and it sprouts some more and it sprouts some more and it can't stop sprouting. Yeah? And that's what happens. That's why our moving, ever evolving, ever complexing world keeps growing.
Before you talk, well, so number 1, awareness is like a prerequisite for something to actually become a seed. So in your earlier example, like if you were doing the ice cream thing as a joke versus doing it with some maliciousness, those would be different seeds.
Yeah, perfect, yeah.
And then like babies or vegetables might not have, don't have karma, or are not seeding any karma.
No, we're all seeding, like there's an intent. As soon as you take an action, whether your intent is conscious or unconscious, okay?
But you have to be aware.
You have some awareness. I didn't say full conscious awareness, you know?
Not vegetables.
Yeah, not vegetables, sorry, yeah. Just vegetables are not what are called mind possessors in this philosophy. Humans, animals.
I did mean human vegetables actually though.
Oh,
you did?
Like,
Oh, sorry.
Like people,
oh, I see.
People that are vegetarians.
Okay. Oh, okay. I see. Sorry. Anything that has a mind, yeah, at some level has some awareness of what's doing. One quality of the mind is that it's aware. We're self-aware. They're conscious beings. Yeah. It doesn't mean that we're forever recording. Oh, I just moved my arm to the right. I just moved my arm to the left. The basic awareness that occurred is what it is. Does that make sense?
Awareness is not the same thing as memory, right?
Exactly, yeah, it's not that conscious awareness, yeah? So at some level, the awareness is, so it's good that you're digging that deep, because at some level, we are fully conscious and fully aware of everything that's coming in through our senses, yeah? We just are not conscious of it. Yeah, so I talked about it, I can't remember which class, I talked about the studies in the West that we've done about 2 million bits of data entering our brain. Yeah, forget the mind interpreting it, our brain a second, and the reticular activating system only being able to capture around 200 of those consciously. The rest of it go through the goalkeeper and become the spaces of our subconscious, accessible to us if you go into deeper states to find out what was happening. So for example, all the data that is being processed by your brain, not mind, your brain, yeah, of which your mind has some flavor to, yeah, which is a whole nother discussion. These are captured, you're aware of them at some level, just not at a conscious level. And the reticular activating system serves to filter the 2 million bits of data and say, these 200 are of my utmost importance right now. I will bring my conscious attention to that. And then the mind is supposed to, the brain actually has this mechanism to revert power to your reticular activating system so it can grasp onto the things that are important, pleasurable, interesting, or dangerous. So those things, so we could be talking about the most magnificent, meaningful thing right now, and then if something made a very loud noise like an explosion over there, our reticular activating system will redivert power to say, get me out of danger, even if I was about to tell you the truth of the universe. We're wired that way. No? Woo! So they come in 2 basic flavors. And so we're going to talk about these movements of mind, these seeds, right? We described a multiplying. They come in 2 basic flavors, positive and negative. The third flavor is anything that's neither positive or negative. We're calling it neutral over here. The description is a virtue or a positive seed, if you like, is anything that produces some pleasure in the short term and ultimately leads you out of suffering. So we're going to call that a positive karma. In the detailed explanations, we don't call that a white karma, it's a mixed karma, predominantly white, yeah, because it's got a mixture of not understanding reality to it, which means you will get a pleasurable result, but it will end because it's a pleasurable result in samsara. A non-virtuous or a negative karma produces an unpleasant result and continues to prevent you from freedom of this suffering. That can end. And a neutral karma is anything that produces a result either other than those 2. The way I think about them in the psychological point of view, when we just talked about the amygdala and we talked about the reticular activating system and conscious and unconscious, etc. It's all the stuff that's in the background, all the unconscious, subconscious stuff, they are neutral karmas. And then as they come up to the conscious, and we allot an awareness of I like that, I don't like that, etc., is our karmas changing, and then we enter the field of virtue or non-virtue. That's the way I think about it. It's all the background stuff that we're not thinking about or aware of. So, we talked about in the refuge part that once you understand the idea of wisdom, the idea of emptiness, the idea that nothing has a nature from its own side, that if that is true, what is it that produces our experience on those blank objects? Yeah? If things are blank of having a nature, what is it that lets me have this nature towards this object? Because I like this object, I don't like that object. What is it? And the answer is karma. So you can't talk about emptiness without talking about karma. You can't talk about karma without talking about emptiness. Blank sheet, red pen, black pen. That's all it means. But what forces everything that I read to be a red pen? And the answer is karma. So if you understand that, if you get to the depths of that, if at some level you get that, and the more you study, the deeper you get it, the more you challenge it, the better you get it. The more doubt you have about it, the more you question it, the better you get it. And if it's a truth, it doesn't matter how much doubt you throw at it, it doesn't matter how much you throw at it, you will find your truth. if it's a truth. Yeah? If gravity works, doesn't matter what you try and do to undo gravity, gravity will work. So, once you get that, the idea of morality becomes important, because morality is the only way you can seed your blank world to produce the most beautiful experience, the ultimate beautiful experience, freedom from any obstruction. So then we need to talk about that. We need to talk about non-virtues, and we need to talk about virtues. And please don't think I'm giving you a lecture. Like, I hated this topic for the first, I can't tell you how long, because it reminded me so terribly of my horrible Catholic days as a child that was forced to go to church and forced to say, I did bad, baby Jesus is going to kill me. You know, like, this is what I felt like as a child. You know, like, I didn't have an intellect to address those. I just knew instinctively my priest was trying to force me to, he was doing a good thing. My karmas were not favorable towards those days. So when I started hearing these teachings in this beautiful philosophy that sounded more like a science than a religion, and that's the only reason I got involved. When I got these, I'm like, oh great, I'm back in church, terrible. Yeah. Until I got it, until I got it. And when you get it, well, you get it in different stages and you get it at different levels. When you get it, it is freedom. These are freedom. So the Buddha dished out, and rightly so, like so many of this world's beautiful traditions throughout, if you don't believe the whole karma, and you can't sit there and think about cause and effect and the kunchi, and just don't do these and do that. Like, just do that and you'll be okay. So, of course, killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, divisive speech, these are the top 10 that humans do. We do these. Why would you take another person's stuff? Why would you? You know?
I want it.
Huh?
I want it.
I want it. You think it's going to get you your happiness. Why would you chop up a living thing? Steve tells me he works at Momo's. He tells me every now and then, it's a bad advertisement for Momo's. He work and they bring a full pig that you could see was a living thing. Yeah? Like, and then chop it up. We don't see that in the supermarket. It's nice and plastic. It could have been just a chunk of something. But those of us who are still eating dead animal flesh of a creature that was happily roaming, eating grass, why are we doing that? And I'm not saying it as a moral thing. I'm not asking you as a moral thing. Yeah? Why would we? Because we think we're going to get something. If you see someone beautiful on the subway, some sexy person, and they're completely adorable with their partner, looking at them with want for you, and if you grab the awareness and their partner's probably stupid, or trying to make eyes at them, whatever you're doing, why would you do that? Why couldn't you be happy that they are happy? Like, why isn't that our default setting? You know? So there's something that means we're human, and we have these things to whatever varying degrees. Lying. I mean, who's been required by work to lie? I mean, I have. You are required to lie. This is a common, expected, natural thing that we say is okay. Go up to that person, tell them something that you know is completely false, and you will get a good result. You will get a truth out of that. You will get a paycheck, and things will be lovely. It's upside down. And I'm not lecturing morality for the sake of thou shalt. I'm saying, if what we're talking is true, if your world comes from the seeds you plant into your consciousness, that lie doesn't matter that you might be fired if you don't do it. That's a separate karma. That lie will not give you truth. That light will give you a result equal to the flavor you planted it. So think about these things. And in the traditions they say don't do and don't do and don't lie and don't steal and don't. But I like the tradition of thinking, what would the opposite be? Plant those. Yeah. Avoid the others. And these are the big boulders between you and freedom from your mind. After you clear these boulders, you will see a vista that you still have to work to get to. But if you remove killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, divisive speech, harsh words, meaningless talk, I have to work on that one, and meaningless means of cats, coveting, ill will, and wrong view. Sometimes the cats have meaning. Imagine a world where people aren't killing. When no one is being killed. Like, things can still pass, but no one is actively destroying each other. Imagine if everybody just was truthful and you could find the truth out quickly and therefore make the right decisions. Yeah? Imagine where you're honoring other people's relationships. Imagine your world if when you found somebody that you really, really like, other people are happy for you. They encourage you, they support you, they help you stay together. So they're the 3 of body. The next 4 are the 4 of speech, and the last 3 are the 3 of mind, for those who are interested. Think about a world where you are being truthful all the time, bringing people together, not looking to separate them. And we do this at work. You know, someone you dislike at work, you quickly go to someone else who you think is going to have a similar opinion to you and go, did you see what's her name? And you're waiting for them to agree with you that she's a bitch, yeah? Because your karma forced you to experience her in a negative way. You're looking now desperately for other people who can verify your truth, right? Why would you do that if you knew you were right? You need other people to tell you because you're not sure. So the more people you gather, then your truth is true. And this is how wars happen. This is how countries happen. My truth. I'm pretty sure it's right. Right? She's a bitch. Yep, she said she's a bitch, and I said she's a bitch. And then you go a couple of weeks with that, and then she was nice to her, and I better find another person that says she's a bitch. Because then there's 4 of us, and then she's probably more of a bitch then. Why do we do that? There's a doubt in us that our reality isn't, that we're not sure about our reality. And so we're forever looking for other people to help us. And we trust you, because if you agree with me, I just convinced you she's a bitch. You were thinking about something else, but now you're my best friend. Because you agree with me. And that's how we build our little clans. And that will have a result. According to this philosophy, all of a sudden, what do you think Tibetans or monks and nuns or Buddhist practitioners, good Buddhist practitioners, are usually pretty centered and quiet. They're desperately trying not to say, she's a bitch. They're still experiencing it. But they're like, I know differently. At least if you're a practitioner like the ones I've met. Yeah, it's not like they're like in bliss all the time. Some are. Most of them are sitting there going, shit, this place is hell. Okay? It's coming from me. I'm changing. You know, meanwhile, she's a bitch. But as soon as you act as if she is, you've missed the point. You've just created more bitch. You want to stop her being a bitch? Be kind. Be kind. Think of all the reasons why she's behaved this way. I mean, she is, in practical terms, in real terms, being nasty to you. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. We all meet people like that. Your response to them. First, in the 2 karmas you're going to plant. The physical and the verbal, yeah? And the mental. So first you can stop that, that's no problem. Most of us do. We're like, oh no, nice to meet you today. Yeah. So the physical one is good. Then the verbal one, just stop that one. You know, don't go behind her back. Stop that one. That takes some months. About that one lady at work. And then the hard one is your mental one. Stopping that habit, that wheel turning. Boom, 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 boom. You know? And have you ever moved jobs and then found all the same bitches there? Same flavor, yeah? Sometimes they change gender, but they're still a bitch. It doesn't come from them. This insight says it comes from you. You stop the wheel. Stop the wheel. So, whenever you're forcing yourself to withdraw the negativity by doing a virtue, the Tibetans say there's two, or the commentaries say there's two states of mind that are always there whenever you're planting a virtue. One is a kind of shame, and I don't like using that word in Western because it feels guilty and terrible. It's not like that. It's like the shame here is you're avoiding a negativity because you don't want to have that. It's that kind of in relation to you, yeah? Even if you were on your own, you wouldn't say that. You wouldn't try and pick up the phone and say, she's a bitch. Because you have some shame that you even have that color in your mind. So in relation to you, shame. And the other one is consideration, avoiding negativity for the sake of others, yeah? So the way I think about this one, so these two are always present when you're trying to do a goodness. Yeah, you're like, I'll avoid doing that negativity because I don't want to have it. I'd be embarrassed if I had it. For me, and I'd be embarrassed if I had it if my best friend knew I had that yuckiness in my mind. Yeah, does that make sense? Okay. Let's talk about how karma works. The 4 laws of karma we talked about last week a little bit. Like produces like. This is the second law of Newton. What is it? Newton's law? That's Newton, by the way. See the apple?
Did you do a Lego photo shoot?
I did a Lego photo shoot. No, I didn't. No. I did a Lego borrowing from the internet. Like produces like. Yeah? You're not getting a banana tree from an apple seed. That's all. The flavor of will come back to you. No one will. How would you think that would come back to you if like produces like? So let's go to the planting of she's a bitch. Yeah. How is that coming back to you? If that multiplied and grew and grew and grew, it could appear in all sorts of different ways. But how would it appear if you went and gathered some friends and did some divisive talk about the bitch? Yeah. Let's choose divisive talk.
The reason you think they're a bitch is because they're doing something against you, so you're just going to experience more people doing something against you.
Excellent. So you're going to experience more people like her. Yeah? And then also, it doesn't matter if... We'll talk about the rest. So you're going to have experience more of that. Excellent. Okay, the next one, karma expands. And this is the beginning of your answer about... what was your question? The conditions, etc. Yeah, conditions versus the scene. Yeah? Okay. Begins to expand. It's more than just one instance of this lady's being mean to you. You begin to have a whole workplace of ladies that behave like that one. Yeah? So it's really worth, if it all stopped when you died, then maybe that's a good thing. Yeah? But it doesn't. Your mind continues. There's enough proof in these ideas that you're going to have to meet them in a business setting of some sort. The last two are profound, I think, and I don't think I still got it fully, but if you've done it, you must experience the result. If you did not do it, you can't experience the result. And the biggest thing that comes at me about those things is that there are no injustices. You can't sit there and say, this is unjust. I don't want to have tax problems. I don't want to have girlfriend problems. I don't want to have boyfriend problems. I don't want to have job problems. I don't want to have health problems. That's not fair. It doesn't belong to me. As soon as you're talking about a thing, it's already happening to you. So to think that it wasn't cause and it doesn't belong to you and it's unfair, it's just adding more mud to the karma if you're thinking this philosophy. Waste of time. If you did it, you must get a result. So if you're experiencing a result, you better bring all your attention and your wisdom to that result so you can stop it from happening again. Reacting negatively to the bitch will just create more of her. So now ignoring her might get rid of her, you're not sure. Acting with wisdom towards her, but pretending that she doesn't exist and she shouldn't have done that to me, poor me. If you experienced the negativity, that was a result of some negativity. Poor me. Yeah? I didn't do anything to anyone. If you're experiencing a result, you have the propensity for that thing in you. The obvious answer is, it's happening to you. It's not happening to her. She thinks it's good you're being yelled at. It's a pleasure for her that you're being yelled at. And the other one is, if you did not do the planting, you can't have the result. Obviously, I didn't do enough hair planting. Yeah, but this is also profound, you know. So I'll give you a personal experience. I meditated for a long time in a specific way that was mistaken, and I didn't get my peaceful, relaxing result that I expected. But I got exactly the result that I planted. And when you look back, and if you're really honest with yourself, there's a flavor to which you do things. And once you get to see that flavor, your mind is tricky and you get to see a deeper flavor and a deeper flavor. And you end up experiencing exactly what you planted. If your world isn't perfect right now, you haven't put the causes for perfection right now. If it's better than it was, you've put the causes for goodness. Be happy. That's the last two are amazing like that. What else? I forgot here. Okay, here it goes. Okay, the 4 of ripening. So we could pick like divisive talk, for example, as one of the, and there's 4 ways that it ripens, and this is one way in which it expands. Okay, the first one, you have a corresponding result, which means your reality is like the karma collected. And I'm going to use the example of a life. So I have a certain kind of life. You were not born in India, although some people in India are born multi-billionaires. You were not born in China, although some people in China are born extremely happy for their entire lives. You were born here. Why? If everything has a reason, why here? Oh, because my mum and dad were here. Okay, good. Why were your mum and dad here? Because their mum and dads were here. Oh, why were they? They were. And ends up you were born in China. No, I'm joking. So you will have a corresponding result. So the Nirlangi cure for a life, the principal cause for what we call a human existence, might be this one, the result of the ripening of all your goodness into a human life. A corresponding experience, this is your personal view of this human life, if you like. It's different to mine, it's different to another. This is your sausage stuff. Yeah? And then you get a habit for it. You get a habit for whatever karma. So we come with certain habits. And most of them, we can say we're humans. We have the habit of, I don't know, giggling or laughing or crying. We can say we have those karmas together as humans. But your particular flavor, your particular habit is different to mine. And some of us find it really difficult to stop self-deprecating. And some of us find it difficult to understand things in a specific way. And some of us find it difficult to play music, and some of us find it easy to play music. And some of us fall in love too easily, and some of us fall out of love too quickly. But these are the inner habits, the internal propensities that come with us. The habit of doing a thing, you get a taste for it. You know, and the way I think about this one is, I told you the story when I was a child, I had this interest about how lizards bubbled up when you burn them. It was revolting. But it was like, despite myself, I was watching this horrible attitude towards these little creatures who were just happy to run around the garden, and I needed to blow them up and chop them up and boil them and put the magnifying glass on them and whatever. It was, why did that child do that? And my sister, who was all sweet and lovely, made butterflies fly. You know, like that habit, that is the propensity I'm talking about. And then the environment, which is sort of close to what you're saying, these last two. And this is, if you begin to look at the world this way, it makes a hell of a lot more sense why you got the certain parents you got. And I think it's a mistake that most people in the West think that you choose your parents, etc. Your karma chooses your parents. Your karma chooses your experience of your parents. Your parents are having their own karma about who they are. And then you come along, and you're their most beautiful karma ripening. But of course you're going to be in an environment, if you end up in a job where you have to lie, you're going to end up in a country, in a place where that's okay to do. If lying is a thing. So then everybody has to lie. And you're sort of forced to continue that propensity. And that's why things begin to appear as conditions that are conducive to you continuing the karma. But the main source, the main cause is still one. It's the one thing that produces it. The seed does the tree. But certain seeds always land on fertile ground. Yeah? And so this is saying the fertile ground for the particular karmas, the heavier karmas, the ones that have more potential to burst in this period of time, your environment finds the conditions perfectly. Mm-hmm. Does that answer, Lou? No. And they can be experienced in 3 times. So the seeds we've planted, we've got some details about from the commentaries about what flavors they have and how they function in there, and like equals like, and they grow, and if you did it, you would get the result. If you didn't do it, you didn't get the result. What we don't know, the thing that's big and uncertain about karma is when will it ripen? When will I get the result? So if you're a farmer, you don't know when the result is. Sometime in the future if you get the right conditions. So you plant now for the spring, yeah, but you're hoping that all the seeds are going to come up in the spring. Some of them don't. Some of them stay in the ground. I've got a pot at home, it's winter, it's nearly finished now, and all of a sudden this one seed decides to warm up now and come up, and like, you're late. All the other ones are dying. This one's like, I'm here. What made that one go off now? You know? What made it think it'd come off now? It was wrong time. I expected it at a different time. So what they're saying is these seeds sit in your mind, sit in your consciousness, multiplying. You can't get rid of them. And you could experience them in this lifetime, you can experience them in your next sausage, or you can experience them in the sausage after. Yeah? We can't tell. I can't tell. What they say is that there's some guidelines that the ones that result in this lifetime better be towards powerful objects and have an extremely powerful motivation. These are 2 things that were said about these karmas. The ones that are experienced in this lifetime or immediate karmas are the ones that have a powerful object towards which you did the think, say, or do. Yeah? If it's a strong, and we'll talk about what makes a powerful object. And then if your motivation was deep and strong and heightened, will also force that karma to jump the queue, if you like, and come early. Yeah?
Sorry, Hector.
Yep.
I have a question about the 4 ways of karma. So, the 4 ways that it can ripen.
Yeah.
So when we were talking about these 4 ways, it's not that one karma ripens in these 4 ways, but these are ways that individual karmas will ripen. Is that correct?
The 4 ways work that, first of all, you get a result that's equal, right? So the ripening result. So let's say you lied, or use divisive speech. Yeah, she's a bitch. Help me, everybody agree that she's a bitch. And that will ripen. Let's say it ripens in this lifetime because that was a very high object. You will experience similar divisive speech towards you.
Correct.
Ripening, which might have been the thing that started off in the first place. Mm-hmm. Oh, you will experience another one of her, your ripening result, saying a similar flavor, the second one, corresponding experience, saying, you're a bitch.
And it still comes from the same seed.
Yeah.
So the seed
Seed has
ripens into all these
four
levels.
things.
Okay.
Yeah. If you do it enough, you begin to get a flavor for that, and so you say, well, you're a bitch. No, you're a bitch. No, you're a bitch. You're not a bitch. You're a bitch. You're a bitch. You're a bitch. Yeah. You get the habit for it, and then it becomes an automatic response. For if you're talking about psychology, it's just a habit forming that goes from conscious to subconscious behavior. Yeah. From consciously competent to unconsciously competent. That's all. And then the environment just means that you are placed in a situation more and more often. The more you do that seed, that type, that lying, that divisive speech, you are forever more and more in areas. You end up in more places where that's okay to do, where that's expected to do. And then you're lost in that whirlpool. That drags you into that, forcing you, encouraging you to continue that kind of habit, which encourages you to continue saying the divisive speech, which encourages you to gather more people that are now divisive against you and you're divisive against them, and escalates. Does that answer?
Yeah, a little. So, like, in a way, these are like the steps of the growth of karma. Like,
It says, they say there's 4 ways in which it ripens. So we'll talk about it when we talk about the mind-only school, saying how does a karma in a millisecond ripen? Yeah, you are obviously having individual perceptions of your environment, of your own propensity, unable to.
Right, exactly. So these individual perceptions, are they coming from several seeds, or are they coming from one seed? I think that's where I'm having the problem.
So you color your experience from the one seed of all the elements listed here. How's that?
Okay, I'll buy that for now.
It's kind of like, to me, it's not like dimensions. It's almost like there's one seed and it ripens in all these dimensions simultaneously.
Yeah. So it's got a stalk and a leaf and a depth.
Yeah.
It goes 3D from 2D. That's.
It gets into the question of like, when do you plant and when do you plant seed, when do you?
That's another beautiful question that you should ponder.
When you planting a seed and when you're experiencing the result of it.
When is a result, not a seed planting, you know?
Wasn't it? No?
That's okay, we will talk about that. The next thing I want to talk about, actually, should we have a break and then we'll talk about this? Yeah? Let's take a 10-minute break and we're back at 9 o'clock and we'll talk about what lets us force an experience of a world to be a certain way. Thank you. Back at 10 minutes. Back at 9 o'clock. When did you get back?
Well, guess what you said. Hey, how are you, man? Good, how are you? Good, how have you been? Have you been to any classes? Yeah. How do you know? I've been telling you, yeah. I missed Thursday next week.
Oh, really? Nice.
Good to see you, man. Everything's good. Moving along. Life, work.
Tell me what you're doing.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
What are you doing with 108 after our
Right
screening?
now, it changed a lot after you saw it. It changed drastically.
What are you doing?
Changed to the better. Now, I actually went today to shoot the last B-roll I need from New York to put it together. Maria is already like composing the music. No, man, I like to say like before Christmas should be ready. I'm gonna have it ready before Thanksgiving. There we go. I'm struggling with the plan. Like I said the last time, like at the screening, like I really want to just like grab the movie and get away, right? But then like I think that it's very noble, but people are not gonna pay that much attention if you just do that, right? So maybe if like to build a launch for maybe like not just give it away and do a festival run and maybe put it online for some pay or so people like see somewhat of a value in it. It's just not a giveaway. I don't know. It's tough because I think that the full essence of the piece is to give shit away, right?
It's funny, I have this different idea.
Part of giving is receiving, right? There's always a giver and a receiver. So
I think it's
yeah,
that bushweed.
I wonder if there's any festivals out there that would be good.
There's a few. There's a few. Actually, some of them have reached out to me.
Is that okay?
Yeah. They haven't seen the film. They just have reached out of like the trailer. That doesn't mean they see the film maybe and they go like, no man, forget it. It's not it. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see what happens. I want to finish it first because at first I was like rushing to get ready to screen it. No, I just want to get it done. And then once I have the piece done and I know I have it, I can start thinking of the next steps.
One of my friends previously for the Brooklyn Film Festival, he created something, or he showed some full premieres and premieres.
What was it?
It's called How to Make Movies at Home.
That's awesome.
It's a great.
Oh, I see. So it's not that it's great. It's a big session.
You guys know each other. It's this great film. He's like a brilliant filmmaker. He went to film school. He just understands film and thinks about it. So the movie itself is a narrative, but it's also a how to make a movie.
That's nice.
So it sounds like it could be really bad, but it's done with so many. So it's actually broken into like 8 sections. It's like 8 different kind of major steps that you need to do to make a film. But then the narrative is about filmmakers. So it's a small town in Maine where they have a bunch of young people that are in bands together. And instead of making music, they make films. And they hang out at a bar and screen films together. And so it's like characters it's a movie in a movie. You're making a movie and it's all about how really. And then this like Hollywood outsider comes in.
Excuse me to say.
They make movie bands rather than band.
They're music bands.
Awesome.
I wish I had a movie band. There's a new Benedict. It's the first one that has nothing to do with that.
Hosting that, and then there's also actual covers like play after. It's really weird.
At the same venue?
Yeah, like right after this went off stage, like
Becoming more
like
conservative.
I think it's funny. I think I just saw a picture today of that and someone had come and put it over it.
What else is going on?
Yeah, I just saw that today.
I'm starting a new one right now.
So your plan is?
Thank you. That's the look. That's the look. That's the look. That's right how I feel like now.
No, it's not just an experience.
In this moment, I feel like
Haven't talked to the police.
something's going on with my back, like right here.
Yeah.
Do this. Just see. Must be spasm. No. Maybe I should.
Is there a center you got? Sure.
It's bothering me, but no, what do you mean? What's going on?
This part here?
No, it's literally like right here. Well, you'll feel it, right? Watch. I'll tense up.
You
Watch.
get in, and then you got
You see like how it like sort of. What's going on here?
Is it really? It's been awesome. Yeah. How's the business? We're going to Chicago.
Basically all like so much. The brand Simon's used to.
Well, you told me.
So that's kind of what they're going for.
Not working like before, so I still do consulting every now and then. Exactly.
There's one about relationship between moms and women. It's not using the hard ball.
Did you have to interact with them?
I use the slide a lot.
It was funny, it was just like very pleasant when I sat down and then the camera started and it was like, it was like 10 times louder. And then
Oh, it's so passionate.
he's just loud. I was like, I think I really maybe more that it's like hearing that. Just like yells.
He does a great job on the show. Like he just push people to answer questions on the answer.
So lovely.
Yeah.
I'm going to Argentina in
Liberals need to
November.
work.
Marrying another couple down there.
But he's like also so out.
Now I'm going to teach Peru. I'm going to teach Peru.
I'm doing pretty good.
But before that, I'm coming to China.
Yeah.
November, I'm teaching ACI 7. So it's like, that's what I'm doing most of it, just teaching and studying and reading and trying to do the track. Yeah, and even though I'm good with learning, that would be Who told you to see? We went out with the best of intentions. I've lived in it, I like it.
Okay, change that for your day.
I just
Basically like so
feel like I'm not ready.
Yeah.
and then
It helps so much.
we got a nice place.
Yeah, we're very good company.
We would love to. Well, I would love to. Steve. She's also good. That's just Robert.
Oh, really?
Just for
I thought she was in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Maybe the wedding was in San Francisco.
I know that she was talking about it.
Are you doing dinner?
It's time anyway.
Oh, yeah?
The questions are half an hour long.
Do I have to this weird like Japanese meaning?
I don't actually.
It looks awesome.
Yes, I know, thinking about it, so, I feel like I'm a pretty sure
What is that?
Yeah.
It's one of these weird like Japanese candy things. You want one? It has beans in the middle.
Oh
But
yeah,
it's strawberry
mochi?
flavored.
They are.
What's it, mochi?
Yeah, mochi, yeah.
So good. Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah, not very well.
Oh my god.
Okay, thank you.
I'm gonna make
I can find
$1 native. 60 That's usually 60 cents. That's an hour. 100 cents.
This one.
This is weird. This is good. It's gotten weird all the time.
So guys, if I can have your attention. I need help with 3 jewels. I'm the manager. Hi, Steven. We are looking for volunteers. So if you guys are looking to volunteer at the 3 jewels, an hour a week minimum. It's not much. You can come in. We need people to help with the daily tasks, such as like opening the door, cleaning the place, getting it set up for classes, stuff like that. I also need help with some like internal, external work like marketing, social media, anything you could think of to help promote the 3 jewels. The 3 jewels needs money for rent to keep it going, classes being taught, so we need teachers, so different teachers, getting different teachers together to teach different classes, and we need people, which brings the money, so that's the marketing, social media. So if you guys want to help, just contact me or the 3 jewels. I checked the 3 jewels email. So thank you. I'll talk to me after class if you want the email and everything like that. I'll give it to you. Thanks.
Thank you. Get involved if you can. The 3 Jewels is going through a little transformation, and Steve's and the board are getting together on the new 3 Joules, the version of 3 Joules that we'll hopefully get to see and experience in 2014. But to get that energy going, whatever involvement you can have or any suggestions, I think the more of you in it, the more this place would be awesome. So highly encouraged. And give your money. Not a joke. Okay. The 3 Joules, no, the essence, we'll talk about the objects of karma. So let's talk about the objects of karma for a second. And remember I said objects, the appearances of your world. I want you to think a little bit about, we should be thinking all the time, what is it that creates our world? What is it that makes specific data appear to us in a very definite way? If the idea that things are blank of having a nature from their own side, that they have the potential to be anything, think about in your minute-to-minute experience, what is it that forces that collection of information to be interpreted, first thought, not second thought, in a specific way. So what makes a car a car? At what point is it not a car, and at what point does it become a car? When is a clock not a clock? When is a person not a person? And if you get to identify and slice your moment-to-moment awareness of these things, you come to this boundary. It's actually a really good emptiness meditation to find out, well, if I chop off this finger, am I still a person? If I chop off that finger, am I still a person? If I chop off this arm, am I still a person? If I get rid of that arm, am I still a person? If I don't have any legs, am I still a person? If I can't talk all of a sudden, am I still a person? Etc., etc., etc. And at what point you're going to go, that's not a person? At what point? If I get this round thing, and if I put a hand on it, is that a clock? Is it really a clock? So to ask these things. So then, to understand this, there's a whole field of study, which I'm not going to go into. It's called Tokpe Tatsam. And it's the idea of conceptualization of data, how the mind grabs onto objects and it forms this perfect mental image of a car or a thing. And then we mistake that image for the thing. We're forever just having experiences of things, and we're calling them things. We're not even choosing. It comes. Then we can have a whole discussion about, oh, it's this kind of car. But we're forced through habituation. It happens so fast, and that's why the practice of meditation lets you look at the thing. Do you all know what that is? What is it? Car? Picture of a boy. Huh?
Baby.
A baby. Boy. To the Dalai Lama. Yeah? Now it's got another label all of a sudden. I said a few words and now it's got a new label. What made you connect all that intent onto that black and white picture? It was a baby before. Yeah? So the slowing down and the catching is useful, because if you can do that, you can do that for death. You can do that for life. You can do that for being. You can do that for the thing that causes suffering. You can do that for freedom of suffering, because it is also an object. The idea that you're suffering. So if someone touches you, at what point are they, what is it that you're feeling? What is it really? Really imagine. And we just take it for granted. We go so quickly because we've got to answer the phone and go on Facebook and Instagram and But if you slow it right down, which is the point of the practice of meditation, you will get to experience the field of possibility that is the experience we're living in. And then and it could be coming up any kind of way. It's just coming up this way because of a reason. Karma produced it. Something made it. It didn't come from nowhere. Yeah? And we share collective experience. We are called humans. Yeah? But we're not the same. But we're like each other. And then at some point, when you go deeper and deeper and deeper, you see that we and everything is made of the same stuff. But where are you perceiving that? Where is that really? When you're being touched, what touches you? Where do you feel it? Where do you experience it? When you conceptualize it? This is mind. We're going to talk about mind. And remember I told you before, if you If you want to experience some result in this life or quickly, you better have a high object, a strong object, an important object. So we talk the studies here, what makes an object special. Studies, there's literature on it. So a higher form of life makes it special. And it's not it's not something that I'm telling you and therefore you should believe it, okay? Please. Because then you put on the retard hat. Yeah? You need to put on the science hat. And see what it feels like to understand this. So let's say that you're going to plant a really negative karma, and I'm going to give you a choice. I'm going to put 3 people in front of you here. And you must plant this karma I'm about to give you. Yeah, you must do it. You must punch them hard on the face. And you will get the result, okay? And let's say I'm one of those persons. That's okay, it's Hector, he's funny, he'll probably laugh. Yeah? Don't forget he's funny. The other one is that bitch at work. The other one's your mum. Punching any one of those 3 things has a different flavor. Your awareness is different towards each one of them. Which one is the highest object? Is she that way self-existently? Meaning from her own side, anybody that punches that lady will have the same charge? No, right? Because the mother of the bitch would rather punch your mum. This is good, kind Buddhist teaching. I'm trying to use this language to wake you up and not to let you sit in, I'm in a Buddhist meditation class, let's chill out. I mean, these are real things, you know, these are real things. If you do an action towards a certain object, you have much more intensity about that object than another object. That's one of the things that makes it important. So what if really you saw one of those objects being the Dalai Lama? That would be a high. If they walked in right now, and some stranger walked in right now, which one would you have a whole series of aha? Yeah? So that makes it a higher object for you. Yeah? If you're all Chinese and the Dalai Lama came in, that wouldn't be the case. But then, right? So we are locked into thinking our world is solid. And it's not true. But you better work with the solidity you have to manufacture the beautiful freedom from the suffering that is currently trapped in your solidity. Yeah? The other thing that makes an object special is if it's undergoing right now some serious suffering. So someone's begging you, please help me, I'm about to lose my job, I'm about to lose everything because I made this stupid decision, please help me, can you please help me? And then someone's on the train going, hi everybody, I decided to have a dog and move to Portland. And I really want to eat something tonight, please help me. Which of the two is higher for you? You know? So that, see how it naturally has a charge? That makes it a higher object. So any action towards that has a bigger charge. That's all it means. And has given you great assistance. That explains it from your parents, for example. You don't even have to think cognitively about my mum did this for me and my dad went to a job all this time, they saved up money, they put me through college, they fed me all the fattening food, etc., etc. The kindnesses that people have paid on us. If you look at the board checkout people that help us get through the line, like I talked to a lady for an hour and a bit, was on the phone to the tax department, IRS, first time I was scared. This lady was the kindest thing and her job was so boring. She's like, nobody wants to talk to me, oh, you're so happy, you know? I'm like, I needed to stay with her for a little while because I was like, I know what it's like to be bored shitless at a job. And she was like, she had a spark of a person with a funny accent and she was like wanting to help me. Because she goes, nobody wants to talk to me. She goes, I'm not the person people want to talk to. I'm like, oh no, I don't want to talk to you because I don't want to be in trouble. I want to talk to you so I don't have to talk to you again. And she laughed. And, you know, the people that do things for us, we don't even count them, but the kindnesses they pay. You imagine wasting your entire life so you could get electricity. You know, you don't even see the faces of the people that help you. But then there are some that have given you great assistance. And some of them are your teachers, some of them are your parents, some of them are your best friends, some of them are your worst enemies. The people that say the most horrible thing to you that wake you up. I'm like, oh, I've got to get my act together. And just to think of them, these makes them a high object because they're important to you. And lastly, they possess a high spiritual quality. You truly perceive that they have some insight into the world that you don't. Do they have that insight separate from your perception? Are there beings that have perfect insight into the world separate to your perception?
No.
Well, how do you know?
That's right. So the answer is no. You know? You can't know. As soon as you think about it, no. I hate that question because it forces you into that perception. So these make high objects. So if you're beginning to say, well, you don't have to believe me. I didn't make these up. The Buddha didn't make them up. He said, I just saw how things work. This is how they work. It's not the other way. You have to then internalize it and taste. Otherwise, you're just going to be like, oh yeah, I'll do that. And what kind? If this is true, what kind of result will you have from that? You see how it,
a dull result.
A dull result, because like, I've got to believe the next thing, and then you have to, you know that there's a part of you aware that you didn't check. Yeah? There's some depth of understanding that comes from if you check and practice. So it's not easy, but my God, I'd rather spend half this human life or this entire human life putting a dent onto the habits that forced me to be stuffed in this sausage in the first place, into this kind of sausage, you know? So if you understand this, then all of a sudden you become aware. This gives you power to become aware on how you act, think, say, or do towards your world and towards certain beings. That's why the whole guru devotion thing is a thing. There's nothing special, separate from the perceiver in all these beings. When someone has an experience of a teacher and you understand that the teacher comes from you, you better take care of that teacher. It doesn't matter that they look like an old hag on the subway. If she's the one presenting you wisdom, you better go and give her $2 or something. That's what I'm talking about teacher. I'm not talking about formal teacher, because we put on the stupid hat when we do that. You know, you have to be aware of your world. Where is your karma ripening to give you insight into being? And it comes up all the time. If you're in the room, it's coming up. That's why you're seeking, that's why you're searching, that's why you're investigating. You've tasted, surely. So let's talk about how the mind-only school says karma is carried. Don't forget, this is just one interpretation, for food only. They say you have an object appearing to you, a yelling boss. There she is, the bee lady, yeah? Your eye catches the data. Let's go for the visual, just the big open R and the big round R, the data, the raw data, yeah? Your mind or your brain connects to your eye consciousness connects to your eye faculty, so the mind part of you connects with the data that got transmitted through the eye and catches the object. And see the plus, it colors it with your karma. It could be anything. Those objects, that data, could have any interpretation. But for your mind, it's got this color. And I'm calling it negative. Yelling is negative. Someone could be... Steve showed me a stupid video. This French guy goes, why is everybody so afraid of love? And then he runs up behind an old lady and goes, laugh! And of course she was a little afraid. But it wasn't kind. but he made this point. It doesn't have to have the flavor that was assigned to it, but it does have that flavor for you, therefore it's a pramana. Okay? So the mind-only school says, how does that happen? Here's that idea of the kunchi, the pool of karmas. You have infinite, if you've lived infinite lives, you have infinite karma sitting there, seeding, multiplying, and you can divide them. They're all mixed up. Seeds of good plants and negative plants and a whole bunch in between. And which ones come up to the surface? The ones that the environment is more conducive to ripening. And that you can get really subtle about knowing what karmas are about to ripen. The more you practice this philosophy, the more you begin to see what karmas are about to ripen, because your environment begins to be conducive towards it. People around you start experiencing similar ripenings, and then all of a sudden you better turn your mind into a field that continues that or stops it, depending if it's a positive experience or a negative experience. What I'm saying here is we all have infinite amount of karma for scarcity, yeah? And we're currently not undergoing them, really. We don't really. No one in this room, I don't care if you have zero in your bank account or in debt, you're not lacking, okay? Compared to the majority of the planet. But even in our luxury human existence in New York, we still have the perception of lacking, yeah? So you begin to see that your friends they can't make rent, so they ask you for help, or someone's lost their job, and you begin to see in your field of vision this flavor. It's not really happening there. It's your mind labeling and being that awareness. That's how you know that karma is getting closer. And then you know that's coming closer and closer and closer, and it might ripen a big one for you, or it might not. Depends on how you respond to it. But if you're aware, you begin to see in advance that you're about to enter this field of your mind, which has probably got a ton more of those karmas. And so you better, there and then, do all the practices that you know that we've studied to try and turn those negativities into positivities by making sure to the best of your ability you turn those outer worlds to the best that you can. Doesn't mean you have to give them money or whatever, it just means you have to help. You have to wish to help, you have to want to help. Do whatever you can and purify. The mind-only schools say that at some point, one of these karmas is bubbling up to the surface of your kunchi. Remember the bakchaks are the seeds, right? And that one is about to pop as you see the yelling opening mouth of a round thing. And it forces your eye faculty and your eye consciousness both to have the color or the perception that this is a negative thing. And it colors your experience, and you mistake that for reality. We mistake that for the real thing. The internal process of labeling a thing, conceptualizing, and then adding the color of the karma that had the ethical negative or positive, we then think she really is a bitch. And then we act towards her that way, which plants more of her. So let's talk some more about living in accord to these ideas. So if that's true, Maitreya said these things, that we're born with this atomic bomb, these seeds, we're born and pushed into this sausage with two kinds of ignorances, the two, me and mine, okay? Me, and mine. This is me, Hector, and this is my arm, my parts, my friends, which means necessarily you are not me, I am separate from you, and the problem begins. Based on that, these six are the things, the more detailed view or a different explanation of what karma, what grasping to a self-nature, not knowing that things are empty, forces karma. So the opposite of wisdom is ignorance. Ignorance in this case means the idea of a self-existent thing, that things have a nature from their own side, that I have a self-nature to be this way because I am. Not because it was produced. Everything else is produced, what, except me? So that idea, you're born with that propensity, with this ignorance of not knowing what reality truly is, fully available to be anything. those black checks. We're born into it. We have two tendencies to see things as self-existent, me and mine. Because of that tendency, things begin to appear to us as attractive and unattractive, because that will serve me and that will not. And because of that, I like that. I like her because she agreed with me that my boss was evil. I don't like that. She disagreed. She must be stupid, because it doesn't verify my limited reality. Yeah? And then we go about doing something because of that decision. Because she disagreed with me, I'm going to cut her off. Because she agreed with me, I'm going to make her my best friend. And that just creates more of the seeds, which continues the cycle of cause and effect and cause and effect and cause and effect. And we end up having the lives we have. So this is Maitreya's explanation. Here's 4 ways to make a karma way more powerful. And we talked about one of those, I think. Which means we can transform the way we experience our world by feeding the garden in our mind and allowing the beautiful karmas to ripen and cover up, short circuit, and do a whole bunch of things to the negative karmas. You can make any of the karmas more powerful, the negative ones or the positive ones, the ones that would lead you to freedom from suffering or the ones that are causing you suffering. You can choose which ones you want to make more powerful. I suggest you make more powerful the happy ones. Okay? Here is the 4 ways of karma. And we did this for the 108 Lives Project. The 108 Life Project was just this teaching in action. Shi Sampa Jorwatar Tuk. So to make it more powerful, so it's not a flimsy karma, meaning it's going to have more energy, you get clear objective, or you get a good basis for your karma. So for example, let's say you're going to harm that lady at work. You make sure that you know her, that she's your object, that she's the one you're going to hurt. Yeah, you're not going to throw some random silly statement about I hate my job. You're going to say I hate that particular lady because she is that. So you're very clear about the object to which you're doing your karma. That's your basis for your karma. And then for a good karma, in 108 Lives Project, we found a whole bunch of people who had a perception of lacking in their world, the beggars of Kathmandu, and we made them a clear object of our karma, our basis, for the sake of abundance in the world. And then you do a plan. You clarify your intention about how to connect with that object, what it is that you could do to plant the field that will ripen later. So your intention, and you want to make that karma big, you amplify that intention. When you think about your intention about why you do, say, or think anything, you should be completely honest about your first impulse, right? It's usually to get happy. Yeah, it's usually for me. It's usually I've got a better house, better job, etc. And that's okay, that will give you a result. But if you really want to make it powerful, think of the consequences of making sure everybody had something similar. And then that same intention can grow into an intention that covers a whole planet. What if everybody had what I wanted? What if everybody had what they wanted? All of a sudden, the same action with a slightly amplified intention can expand the result of your karma exponentially. And so they say in Sampa there's 3 things, the dushe, I won't talk about that. Then you see yourself undertaking the deed, always your recorder is grabbing, you see yourself actually doing something, and that, because you had a good basis and you had a clear, strong intention, you see yourself doing the deed, and then to seal the deed, you are happy that you completed it. You're like, I did that. If you have those 4 components, this makes a powerful karma. Anything. So experiment is what I'm saying with specific karma. Start slow at first and test out this theory. The next thing I want to cover, I've got a couple of things I want to show you. I'll tell you some terrible karmas, okay? They say in the books, don't do these things. These are called immediate misdeeds. Killing your mother, father, a foe destroyer. What's a foe destroyer? Someone who has?
Rich nirvana.
Thank you, rich nirvana. So what have they destroyed? Mental afflictions. Thank you. Creating a schism and drawing blood from the Buddha with evil intent. They say that these are terrible karmas. So why? What makes them immediate? is
Go.
that.
Go.
No, go on.
You go to hell.
Yeah, they say you go to hell, right? You'll fall. That's why that was my Christian angel falling. Don't put the spiritual hat on, put the scientist hat on. Killing your mother, killing your father, why would that?
Because they're very high objects.
High objects for you. Whether you acknowledge them as being good parents or bad parents, no problem. They created this thing, this body part, yeah? A foe destroyer. What if you really had a perception that someone was a Jesus walking on the world and you killed him? Yeah, it'd be heavy, right? Like if you really felt.
Wash your hands of that.
Yeah. Now, creating a schism in the Sangha, don't think about it in terms of a religious. Think about a group of beings who share your optimism that this world can shift to bliss. And then you're doing the back and forth, oh, he's wrong, and you're dividing them. Your world can never get to bliss. Do you see how that one is an important one? So forget that they called it schism in the Sangha. It's talking about your world with your people who are practicing or trying to understand this world in a true way, not getting lost in Instagram and this and the other, but really trying to understand this world. And of course we're all going to stumble and so on, but bringing the whole division thing in there just means you can't ever get wisdom in your world. That's why it's a problem.
Sorry, language barrier, what does schism mean?
Schism is una división.
Alright.
Yeah.
Thank
If that was my Spanish answer. Drawing blood from a Buddha with evil intent. Now, imagine you met a Buddha. Imagine you tried that. Obviously, that's a problem. Yeah. Okay. Collection of merit. There's this idea that all your goodness is your collection of merit. It's the thing that would lead to your two Buddha bodies. Yeah. Imagine every good seed in you resulting in the most perfect result if you multiply them enough and gave them enough power. So that's called Getsa, or your most basic virtue. There's this horrible, horrible thing called Getsa Chupa, and for those of you who have studied the Dorje Chupa, what's Chupa mean? Cut, to cut. So to cut the root of virtue, or to cut your storehouse of good karma. There's this horrible thing that you could do that if you did a horrible enough thing. And the thing that cuts them is a sustained wrong view. So for example, we have a friend who's come to a couple of these classes, and he liked the philosophy he heard. But then he's like, I just want to get drunk and go to parties. I just there's a part of him that knows that the suffering he's experiencing in his life comes from something, and he just saw a glimpse of it. And he's like, I'm young, I just want to get drunk for a second, right? So that's not cutting the root of virtue. Cutting the root of virtue has all this technical explanation, which means you have to be a person of intellect rather than of emotion. You have to have a sustained understanding of how things function, karma and emptiness, etc. And then decide, despite your understanding, that it's completely wrong and live by the opposite. And so you cut the root of virtue. Or another text says anger towards what you perceive to be a bodhisattva, a being whose whole life is working to freedom for the sake of themselves and others, and you being angry at them. The problem with that one is you can't tell who's a bodhisattva. So I think the implication is stop being angry at anyone. Yeah?
I thought the implication was that if you perceive them to be a bodhisattva, then by being angry, it's like the same thing as if you're perceiving a Buddha and you try to draw blood from them.
Yeah, but can you really tell what's happening in anybody else's mind?
No.
So can you tell who they are really? They are really appearing to you in a certain way. Are they the way they're appearing to you?
Then anybody that you've drawn blood from, and that
with evil intent.
And they were a Buddha.
They could have been a Buddha. Yeah.
So you're immediately going to
But
hell.
you're not sure. You're not sure. The implication is to force you to check. That tension we just felt, that's what it's for, I think. Because you can't tell who a bodhisattva is. You can't tell that somebody's doing a deed out of a kindness, and it might seem unkind.
I agree, but if you were for sure.
If you were for sure, then you did it with evil intent, of course, that's what this is saying. But I'm saying the text on anger at a bodhisattva goes a little deeper. It says, hold on a minute, you're not sure who a bodhisattva is. Beware of anger. Anger by itself will just destroy any goodness, but anger at a bodhisattva will cut your root of virtue. Yeah? Will cut your root of virtue means the umbilical cord between you and nirvana is severed. Yeah? Can you destroy a karma?
No.
No. Once planted, it must stay until it has its result, and then it destroys itself. It goes away. But can you destroy it? No. I'm going to go 10 more minutes, so if you're in a rush, I apologize. So, yeah?
I understand there are ways to destroy a car.
There are ways to scorch the seed so they don't have a result, but you can't destroy them. You can't destroy the seed.
Right, but so once you scorch it, so it's not going to have a result, the seed's not there.
The seed's still there. You can't destroy the seed.
So it'll come back.
Right.
No. You stopped. We'll talk about it when I talk about purification, which is the next thing. The idea is you're short-circuiting the seed. It could stay there dormant and so shriveled up that it will never give its result. But the seed, once planted, it's a seed. We're talking about a seed. So we can short-circuit from having a result. The way I've understood it, and the way I've been taught it, is that once planted, you can't get rid of the seed until it produces a result, and then the seed no longer exists. So to get rid of the seed altogether means to have the result. To cover the field of negative seeds with a thick plastic, that means you'll never get seeds out of it, that's a different story. To put it through radiation so all the almonds don't have whatever bacteria they're all afraid of, that's another story. The seed is still a seed. It won't ever grow a tree, it will never do that, but it's still a seed. So it's a technicality on can you destroy the seed, or is something that doesn't give a result a seed? It's a philosophical discussion there. But the texts are clear, you can't destroy the seed. You can short circuit it, you can burn it, you can't destroy it.
So you remember doing it, but that doesn't.
It won't turn into a result if you do some
Right.
things. Yeah.
But you still remember that you did it. So it is.
Not sure if you still remember.
Maybe in a different way.
Not sure if you still remember. If every action has an equal and opposite reaction, as soon as you do say or think something, you've planted a buckchuck. Until that buckchuck ripens, it's still a buckchuck. Now, you can have a complete seed that sees all seeds differently. That's another story. That's another seed. Does that answer
So you
your
can
question?
transform the karma.
You could see yourself as not having those seeds in the way that you saw them having them before. That's a seed. The good news about cutting the root of virtue is you can just store it. You can bring it back to life. And the way you do that with just as much as sustained wrong view about a correct idea, cut the umbilical cord between you and the result of goodness, having doubt about that wrong view, beginning to break down that wrong view and collecting a correct view will reconnect that virtue for you. Yeah? That's what the text says.
What about when you're angry?
Yeah, when you're angry, you can't see anything nice. It's like you've entered the garden, the part of the garden of your mind. You mean when you're angry at a bodhisattva?
Yeah, I'm saying like how do you restore that?
We'll talk about purification. Yeah? I need to tell you quickly about these three spheres, because if you're going to plant karma, these things called the 7 riches of the Aryas, which are, if you possess this as the doer of a karma, so there's nothing outside these 3 spheres. There's you, the doer of a thing, there's the act of doing the thing, which includes the thing, and then there's the object towards you do the thing. That's the universe right there. Yeah? All of it. So these are, if you have these qualities as the doer, your results are richer. If you are doing it with these 3 in mind, your results are richer, stronger, faster. And if you do this towards the exceptional object, which we talked about, what makes a high object, your results are faster. And the idea of the secret teachings, the idea of Tantra, is based on the first of the laws of ripening of karma, that A, you can have karma that ripens in this lifetime. So yes, you can have enough virtue that will ripen into a magical experience this life that lets you see that you are removing suffering for good. That is a possible truth. That's what the Buddha did. And it's not something that is privileged only to him. Yeah? Many after him have gone through the methodology and had an experience. So you can, if your karmas are powerful enough, if the act of doing it is so filled and charged, and you as a doer have these qualities, then you're more likely to have a result in this lifetime. And if you're going to do any karma, may as well do the karmas that remove suffering. So, the 7 riches of the Aryas, the doers, you have to have faith. Faith what? Faith in that you understand reality, that through thinking, processing, investigating, you see that this is not the way it seems. That the way we get things, talking behind the boss's back, isn't the way you get happy. That there's a different way, cause and effect, that is that of the mind that's producing things, upon things that have no nature. Faith that once you've understood it intellectually or seen it, that is working. Morality, that good produces good. Generosity, learning these things. A sense of shame for not doing embarrassing things for the sake of yourself, or conscience for the sake of the world around you. And wisdom that understands that. The more you have these as capacities, the more your actions will have immediate results. What makes an act exceptional is your whole body language, your whole posture, the whole feeling with which you do an action. So if you wanted to be kind to somebody, you can just throw them a rose and just chuck it at their face. But if you just go and give them a rose in a specific way, that's to them something special that you perceive. That whole body posture, that mental mindset that you're doing it with, renders that karma more heightened. Timely and fitting. So if someone's saying, please help me, help me, help me, help me, you're like, look, I'm busy at the moment, next week I'll call you up. And you know that they're going to be evicted tomorrow or something. And at the very least, that's no harm. Making sure that it doesn't matter what you're doing. Maybe that person's asking you to help them by taking money away from someone else or something else and cheating or something. If you know it's doing harm, that's not good. You need to have some certainty it won't do harm. And choosing an exceptional object. Whew. Purification. I want to talk a little bit about that. There's the 4 forces where you can short circuit the seeds once planted. Yeah? There's the foundation force. The foundation force is you've done something nasty. So let's say you got angry at a bodhisattva. Yeah? And you think, oh, maybe I got angry at a bodhisattva. I'm not sure. I just yelled at that lady. So you go and you think about karma and emptiness. You think, it will lead me, it will give me a result. I think I understand how things work. I've learned some. What produced me to yell at them in the first place is like you're investigating. You take some kind of refuge, based on the refuge idea that the nature of things appearing to you, you mistook what appeared to you as reality and you acted ignorantly to it, and you take some refuge about the way it appeared to you, you mistook it for reality and you took that action. That the refuge is that thing hasn't got a nature, it could have been a different thing, and now it could be a lesson. So that's the refuge. You think about that. Then you do the destruction force, which is you think how that, the longer it stays in your consciousness, the bigger it will grow. You get some gut-wrenching, sick feeling that you're going to get the result of what you just did. So you must experience all this anger back because you were angry at someone else. So that should give you enough energy to go, I want to stop. And then the restraint force, which is the only way you can short circuit that kind of karma, is just stop doing that for a period of time if possible, for as long as you can, the better. So I will not yell at the next time that I'm supposed to yell. So I know that I usually yell when they do this, that, and the other. Next time someone does this, that, and the other, my promise to myself is not to yell. So that is the restraint force. And the antidote force is you do some kind of activity to counteract your bag of karma from that negativity you just planted. You want to pile as much goodness in there to overcome it. Does that make sense? And so they have instructions on what you could do. Usually, so I'll give you an example from Ken Rinpoche. Someone had a karma of having been in Vietnam, I think, and they fired into the bushes, but they weren't sure if they killed anybody. So they're not sure. It's like yelling at a bodhisattva. So they got asked to go and get a couple of sheep from their father who had sheep to go to the slaughterhouse and save them from the slaughterhouse and keep them until their natural life ended. Take care of their life, because it was an antidote to killing. So that was the purification. You know, for us, as soon as you see yourself doing a negativity that will grow, think about the nature of that. Take the true nature of that it could have been anything else, but it was this for you. Maybe this will help you clean it, if you understand karma and emptiness. And then you think some kind of regret that if I leave this alone, it will just multiply. And then you go and say, I promise not to do that the next time it's available, and then do something opposite. So, here is the advice. Your world comes from you. What if that was really true and you could be certain of it? I know I'm just saying that, but you could be really certain that your entire experience of your world comes from you, and it's changeable. If you purify the things that cause you your sufferings, then you could really choose a reality that's fitting to you. And if you're going to do that, I'm saying aim for freedom for the sake of others. I know that it's 1:45, but I've got a 7-minute video I want to share with you if you're interested. Yeah, you're welcome to go. Can you plug the power back in? And this should summarize what to do with this. Now that you've got this information about what's possible, you still have to investigate it. What's possible? What creates your world? I'm not sure that's working.
It just turned on. It just turned on.
Auxiliary?
No, let's see.
There it goes. Thank you. So see if you can see that for a second. Sure. This is just something online about what we've just been talking about, I hope.
There are these two young fish swimming along, and they happen to meet an older fish swimming the other way, who nods at them and says, "Morning, boys, how's the water?" And the two young fish swim on for a bit, and then eventually one of them looks over at the other and goes, "What the hell is water?" The point of the fish story is merely that the most obvious, important realities are often the ones that are hardest to see and talk about. Stated as an English sentence, of course, this is just a banal platitude. But the fact is that in the day-to-day trenches of adult existence, banal platitudes can have a life or death importance. The plain fact is that you graduating seniors do not yet have any clue what day in, day out really means. There happen to be whole, large parts of adult American life that nobody talks about as much. One such part involves boredom, routine, and petty frustration. The parents and older folks here will know well what I'm talking about. By way of example, let's say it's an average adult day. You get up in the morning, go to your challenging white-collar college graduate job, and you work hard for 8 or 10 hours, and at the end of the day you're tired and somewhat stressed, and all you want is to go home and have a good supper and maybe unwind for an hour and then hit the sack early, because of course you have to get up the next day and do it all again. If you remember, there's no food at home. You haven't had time to shop this week because of your challenging job. longer than it should. And when you finally get there, the supermarket is very crowded because, of course, it's the time of day when all the other people with jobs also try to squeeze in some grocery shopping. You can't just get in and quickly out. You have to wander all over the huge, overlit stores, confusing aisles to find the stuff you want. And you have to maneuver your junky cart through all these other tired, hurried people with carts, etc., heading stuff out for this one ceremony. And eventually, you get all your supper supplies, except now it turns out there aren't enough checkout lanes open, even though it's the end of the day rush. So the checkout line is incredibly long, which is stupid and infuriating, but you can't take your frustration out on the frantic lady working the register, who is overworked at a job whose daily tedium and meaninglessness surpasses the imagination of any of us here at a prestigious college. But anyway, you finally get to the checkout line's front, you pay for your food, and get told to have a nice day, in a voice that is the absolute voice of death. And then you have to take your creepy, flimsy plastic bags of groceries in your cart with the one crazy wheel that pulls madly to the left, all the way out to the crowded, funky, littery parking lot. And then you have to drive all the way home through slow, heavy, SUV-intensive rush hour traffic, etc., etc. Everyone here has done this, of course, but it hasn't yet been part of your graduate's actual life routine, day after week, after month, after year. But it will be. And many more dreary, annoying, seemingly meaningless routines besides. But that is not the point. The point is that petty, frustrating crap like this is exactly where the work of choosing is going to come in. Because the traffic jams and crowded aisles and long checkout lines give me time to think. And if I don't make a conscious decision about how to think and what to pay attention to, I'm going to be pissed and miserable every time I have to shop. Because my natural default setting is the certainty that situations like this are really all about me. About my hungriness and my fatigue and my desire to just get home. And it's going to seem for all the world like everybody else is just in my way. And who are all these people in my way? And look at how repulsive most of them are, and how stupid and cow-like and dead-eyed and non-human they seem in the checkout line. Or at how annoying and rude it is that people are talking loudly on cell phones in the middle of the line. Look at how deeply, personally unfair it is. If I choose to think this way in the store and on the freeway, fine. Lots of us do. Except thinking this way tends to be so easy and automatic that it doesn't have to be a choice. It is my natural default setting. It's the automatic way that I experience the boring, frustrating, and crowded parts of adult life when I'm operating on the automatic, unconscious belief that I am the center of the world and that my immediate needs and feelings are what should determine the world's priorities. The thing is that, of course, there are totally different ways to think about these kinds of situations. In this traffic, all these vehicles stop and idling in my way. It's not impossible that some of these people in SUVs have been in horrible auto accidents in the past, and now find driving so terrifying that the therapist is all that ordered them to get a huge, heavy SUV so they can feel safe enough to drive. Or I can choose to force myself to consider the likelihood that everyone else in the supermarket's checkout line is just as bored and frustrated as I am, and that some of these people probably have much harder or experienced painful lives than I do. Again, please don't think I'm giving you moral advice, or that I'm saying you're supposed to think this way, or that anyone expects you to just automatically do it, because it's hard, and it takes will and effort, and if you're like me, some days you won't be able to do it. But most days, if you're aware enough to give yourself a choice, you can choose to look differently at this fat, dead-eyed, overmade-up lady who just screamed at her kid in the checkout line. Maybe she's not usually like this. Maybe she's been up 30 nights holding a hand her husband is dying of lung cancer. Or maybe this very lady is the low-wage clerk at the motor vehicles department who just yesterday helped her spouse resolve a horrific, infuriating red tape problem through some small act of bureaucratic kindness. Of course, none of this is likely, but it's also not impossible. It just depends what you want to consider. If you're automatically sure that you know what reality is and who your life is doing the course, you want to operate in your default setting, and you, like me, probably won't consider possibilities that are annoying and miserable. But if you really learn how to think, how to pay attention, then you will know your options. capital T true is that you get to decide how you're going to try to see it. This, I submit, is the freedom of real education, of learning how to be well-adjusted. You get to consciously decide what has meaning and what doesn't. That is real freedom. That is being educated and understanding how to think. The alternative is unconsciousness, the default setting, the rat race, the constant gnawing sense of having had and lost some infinite thing. I know that this stuff probably doesn't sound fun and breezy or grandly inspirational the way a commencement speech is supposed to sound. What it is, as far as I can see, is the capital T truth with a whole lot of rhetorical niceties stripped away. You are, of course, free to think of it whatever you wish. But please don't just dismiss it as some finger-wagging Dr. Laura sermon. None of this stuff is really about morality or religion or dogma or big fancy questions of life after death. The capital T truth is about life before death. It is about the real value of a real education, which has almost nothing to do with knowledge and everything to do with simple awareness. Awareness of what is so real and essential, so hidden in plain sight all around us all the time, that we have to keep reminding ourselves over and over, this is water. This is water.
So that's water. Before we finish, dedicate this thing we're all in for the sake that others wake up to. 사시 부기지신 메탈참 리라는 신인데 파리 상계 신드미 대와리 드로큰 남다 신라지 발쇼 이담불 랏나만달라 칸딜냐타야미 게와디 데오큰 수남 예셰 석석신 수남 예셰 레증웨 람바그니 더발쇼. Thank you for staying a little later. I hope it turns into something beautiful in your hearts. Go home.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is water.
That was beautiful.
Wasn't it lovely? Got it off the internet. It's inside the computer. No, just a friend of mine posted it on her Facebook. I cut and paste. Yeah. Thursday is review Diamond Cutter Sutra level 2, 3, 4, 5 emptiness. That's good.